What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Today I have BJ Brownlee, local to my area. Met him last year. We ended up subcontracting some junk removal jobs out actually to him and his son. And I remember seeing this guy on Facebook, and he had all of his box trucks. And I believe there was 15 or 18 box trucks. And I was like, man, I want to be like that one day. So luckily I have him on the podcast today. So welcome, man.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
So tell everybody who's BJ.
Well, I grew up in St. Louis, started a lawn care business when I was about 11 years old. Kind of like everybody else, pushing a lawnmower doing all my neighbors' yards, my parents' neighbors' yards, and just kind of grew into a bigger company over time. Right now we got about 45 employees.
Wow.
20-something trucks and a bunch of mowers.
That's amazing. So as you started off at 11 years old, was it Archway at that time, or I assume probably no name?
It was BJ's Lawn Service, actually.
Okay.
And I cut 10 yards. And how I started was I had a shoe fetish growing up. And my dad bought me my first pair of Nikes. And I said, man, I really like these. He's like, that's the only pair I'm going to buy you. If you want more Nikes, you got to buy them yourself. I'm like, I'm 11. How am I going to do that? He said, well, cut grass. And so I'd go out every Saturday morning, cut four lawns, and head to the mall after that and buy a new pair of Nikes every week.
That's crazy. So at that time, I guess, what was like you were cutting people's grass for how much?
It's probably 20 to 25
bucks.
Yeah,
okay. And now what would you say is like the baseline of cutting grass?
Our minimum's 45 to 50
45.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you usually have like 2 people per truck, or how does that exactly work?
Residential crews is 2 people per truck. Commercial crews is 3 to 5 people per truck.
Okay. So you were doing lawn care, probably people around the neighborhood. Were you just knocking door to door to get those, or
flyers at the time?
Okay.
Flyers.
Hanging them on doors or poles, or
at the time, mailboxes. Didn't know it was illegal back in the day when I was 11. But yeah, I just put them on mailboxes and got some calls. Got some calls from the post office as well, saying you can't do that. So we stopped doing that, and then just started putting them on doors.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I assume did they even have like riding mowers at that time?
So funny story. How I kind of expanded was at the time I was cutting. This was fast forward to high school. So I was probably 16, 17 years old, and my buddy said, "Hey, I work for this other guy. Can you help us on Saturday cut grass?" I was like, "No, I got my own lawns to cut." He said, "I'll make you a deal. If we help you cut your yards, will you work the rest of the day with us?" I was like, "Oh, absolutely." So at the time I was using a 21-inch push mower, and they came through Saturday morning, picked me up at 8. We did my 10 yards in probably an hour and a half with their big ride-on mowers. And at that time I was just in awe. I was like, light bulb went off. I'm like, done. This is a done deal. I'm going to get a big mower. So I helped them finish the rest of the day. And the next day I went to the commercial lawnmowers store and bought me a commercial mower.
Did you buy it cash, or did you get financing, or?
So at the time I asked my dad, and he's like, "No, my credit's tapped out. I can't help you." So then I asked my grandfather, who actually signed for my first mower for me.
Okay.
So
yeah, for me, it was so hard for me to get loans for anything.
Yep.
So I would always go to my dad and be like, "Hey, can you co-sign or whatever?" And that's how basically I would take nearly all of my profits. So he would buy the truck I actually sold you. He bought that truck for me, and then I just paid him off. I'd pay him in $5,000 chunks and paid him off as fast as I could.
Right.
Just because I couldn't get a loan for anything.
And that's the biggest part of business is, when you're young, you need credit, but you have to have credit to get credit. So it's a messed up way to do it, but it is what it is. You find a way to make it happen.
Okay. So how many trucks did you say you have?
Right now we got 23, I believe.
23.
23,
That's
24.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I think when I sold mine to you, you had 17.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
So you go with box trucks, which I think is interesting because a lot of other people go with different type. They go with trailers so why are you going with box trucks?
So box trucks, couple different reasons. One, it's a moving billboard, so you put your signage on the side of the truck and everybody in town sees you. 2, everything's secure at night, so you just lock it up. You don't have to have extra warehouse space for your equipment. Everything's safe from theft, the weather. 3, no more trucks and trailers. It doesn't matter who you are, how experienced you are, you're going to have a jackknife trailer once in your life. And so I was sick of buying brand new trucks for $40,000, $50,000, and the first subdivision these guys go to, they have to back up a trailer, and they come back with a hole in the side of the truck, and it just drives you crazy. And it's not enough to make the insurance claim, but it's just a nuisance. It makes your trucks look like crap.
Yeah, and even with the insurance, you don't want your insurance going up. So you have insurance, you're paying for it every single month. I would end up paying cash for it every single time. I wouldn't even be utilizing the insurance anyways.
Right.
It cost me thousands of dollars. I'm like, man, what am I doing this for?
Right.
So, I had the same exact issue with my junk removal business, because when I first started, it was like, I'm gonna get dump trailers, because really you can get in dump trailers and have one for $200 a month. It's super cheap and be able to scale.
Yep.
And I train my employees. We go to local school, and I'd have two guys that would stand there and be like, you can't hit any of these guys, and they'd be in a parking spot, we'll say. And they would just back up. And of course, in a parking lot, it's easy. Plus, there's no stress really, because you're in a parking lot with no, cars or anything like that. I'd send them to a property, and they'd end up jackknifing my truck and giving lawn jobs. And I'm like, yep, that's it. Sold everything that I had.
Yeah. The box trucks too have a tighter turn radius, so they can maneuver in and out of residential neighborhoods a lot easier than trucks and trailers.
And not all box trucks do, but the Isuzus do.
Yeah.
And you have all Isuzus?
All Isuzus, and they're the cab over trucks to where you're basically sitting, and your whole line of sight of vision is right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier too.
They're so easy to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we got the Isuzus. Plus, the way I looked at it was like, you can tilt the cab, the engine's right there if you feel like working on it. Do you guys, I guess, take your trucks to like shops, or do you guys fix them yourselves?
Minor fixes, we have a mechanic on site.
Okay.
Anything major, we do take it to a local truck dealer.
So I guess, did they work on like all the lawnmowers plus the trucks, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So our guy can do oil changes, brakes, minor stuff like that. But if there's a major issue, then we got to take them in, unfortunately. And that's the only downside to the box trucks, is we run a lot of diesels, and they're very expensive to fix.
So let's get into that a little bit, because I had gas. I had a 1996 Isuzu MPR that was $5,000, and it was a 5.7 gas truck, and it ran better than any diesel I had. We had that 2006 dump truck, and that was like breaking down all the time, $5,000 just to replace like fuel injectors.
Yep.
And then we had the 2012 that, was our best one that we sold you. And that was like by far the best truck. But it seemed like, I think the diesel parts only came from one place. So it was so hard to find them and get the trucks back pretty quick. So what would you say about like the gas and diesel?
So the whole reason we bought the diesel was those engines are rated for 310,000 miles. So I'm thinking, we put roughly 10,000 miles a year on these trucks, they should last 30 years. That was my thinking behind it. Little did I know that the DEF system on those diesels is what makes them fail a lot of times. So they have to regenerate the exhaust on them, and that's what the DEF system does, which I think it's a total crock of shit, but it is what it is. So they start putting those on there, and that's what's expensive. So if they don't regenerate on themselves, there's no way to regenerate it unless you take it to the shop.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do it because they have the computers to do it. And a lot of shops don't have the computers because they're expensive to get. So you have to take it to one specific dealer to reset your codes, and they charge you like $1,200 every time to do it.
Yeah.
So that right there is expensive, but I didn't really think of longevity wise. A gas engine will probably last 150, 200,000 miles anyways, which is 15 to 20 years for our service. So I should have just opted to go to gas, and we will switch
It's
them all
hard to
out.
find them.
You
see a lot of diesels.
It is.
So, but
right now it's just hard to find any trucks in general right now, just with everything that's going
where
on.
do you find your trucks? From the dealership or Facebook or?
Dealership, Facebook, and then we use a company out of Georgia to get most of our box trucks, and they have a contract with Aaron's, and so all the Aaron's box trucks, once they run their life out of them, I think right when they hit like 80 or 90,000 miles, they switch them out, and so this dealer gets first dibs at them, so we get a discount on those, buying them used.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then are these trucks, I guess, do you try to finance all of them or pay cash?
It just depends on how much they are. We've got some that we pay cash for and some that we finance. Just depends on the timing of everything.
Yeah. So let's go back, I guess, a little bit to the beginning. From 11 to high school, what was that? Were you like full throttle every single year trying to scale the lawn care side, or?
Not really. 11 was just enough to
Get
get
my
my shoe
shoes.
money, and then in high school I did it in the summertime just for summertime cash because I didn't want to have be tied down to hours. And I like working for myself, and I liked working outside. So high school I did it. Then I went off to college for 2 years, played basketball at a community college. Um, Halfway through the second year, I was bored to death. I was sitting in class. I was like, man, lawn mowing season getting ready to start. And I told myself, I was like, I'm going to take this spring off of school, which was stupid. I should just finished and see what I can do with this. And so at the time, I got like 120 yards. Well, cutting 120 yards by myself, I couldn't manage school and mowing. And so I decided to drop out. Didn't really drop out. I went back to take the finals, which when I stopped going to school, I was getting like all A's and B's. Well, then I decided to start cutting grass. Went back to finals because I didn't want to waste that whole year. Thought I could pass finals, and I bombed every final I took. And so that brought my grade way down. So I just took a progress but retake, I think is what they call it. So I didn't have to drop out. And then the rest is history.
So how did you get those 100 yards in that short time span?
It was just word of mouth at the time, word of mouth and flyers. So I'd cut one lawn, the neighbors would come out see me, and then I'd flyer the other neighbors that didn't use my services, and over time we just built up a nice little route.
That's amazing. So when at the time was that Archway, or when did you start Archway?
Archway started in 2000, year
Okay.
2000. So it was after college. I built it up for a couple of years after that, and then about 2000, 2001 is when I started Archway.
And what made you pivot into Archway instead of like before, what you were already doing?
So I wanted to build it as a company, and I didn't want to just be BJ's Lawn
Mhm.
Care, thinking it's just one solo operator. So I knew I wanted to build it into a company. And at the time, I changed the name to Archway Land Maintenance. And I don't know how I came up with land maintenance, but after a couple of years of that, I thought it just doesn't sound right because it doesn't say what we do. Like land maintenance is just a broad name. And so I don't think people really understood what we did. So then at that time, which was like 5 years later, I changed it to Archway Lawn and Landscaping.
Okay. I love the name, and I always see the trucks, and I guess it's like I probably see your trucks more than any other lawn care company out there. It'll be like 7:30 p.m. and I'll be driving around. I'm like, these guys are still working.
Yeah.
It'll be a Sunday too. Do you guys work Monday through Sunday?
Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And then in the fall, when we're really busy, we'll work some weekends. But typically, mowing wise, we work Monday through Thursday and half a day on Friday is what we try and do.
So I guess, 2000, I was actually born in 2000. What was that growth like scaling in the 2000s? Especially there was a recession toward the end, or I guess 2007 through 10. What was it like kind of scaling throughout those early years of the 2000s?
We weren't really affected by it. I mean, the recession, I like to say we have a recession-proof business. Everybody's got grass. Everybody's going to need a cut.
Everybody's lazy.
Everybody's lazy, and people are getting more lazy, as the years go by. I mean, not necessarily lazy, but people are busy. I have 3 kids. I get it. We have basketball, soccer, baseball every single night. People just don't have time to do it. And, they have more income these days to where I'd rather pay somebody $45 to cut my grass than wait, miss my kid's soccer game or baseball game. And
A lawnmower takes so much room in your garage too.
Yeah.
And people can't get their cars in there, plus all the junk that they have in there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you were to cut your own grass, it'd take you an hour and a half roughly to do it correctly. When we can, you just pay us and we show up and we're in and out in 10, 15 minutes and you got an awesome lawn to come home to.
yeah,
You don't have to worry about it.
right. So I guess so you scaled from, or what kind of revenue were you doing in the 2000s? I guess in the recession time, if you remember.
2000s, we're probably doing 750,000.
Okay.
I'd say.
That's amazing. And I'm sure, I guess were the profit margins fairly high at that time?
They were because I was an operator.
You were in the field.
I was in the field and I was running one of the trucks.
Did you have any problems with employees at that time?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just not showing up, or?
Yeah, I mean you'd have guys. I mean, we hired some decent guys early on. And it's just like everybody else. I mean, they'd show up Monday through Friday, and once payday hit, you can count on them not being there on Monday.
Yeah.
It never failed. Every 2 weeks we get paid, and usually the Monday after payday, they wouldn't show up. And then the Tuesday after payday, they're asking for an advance on their next check.
Yeah, of course.
So
That's always how it works.
yeah,
So, okay, so you scaled from 0 to 1 million. I guess it took you, I guess how long did it take you to scale from 0 to 1 million a year?
I'd say 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
And what do you think, if you were to go back and do that again, how quick do you think you could get there?
I'd say probably 2 years if
2
I do it
years.
again. If I knew now knew then what I do now, it'd be a lot quicker.
And what would you do if you were to scale to 1 million a year as fast as possible?
I'd get myself out of the field quicker.
Okay. And start
So
hiring people.
Yeah, hiring people so I could focus on the business instead of in the business.
And a lot of people don't get this. A lot of people are still on the trucks. A lot of people I even know who are in lawn care, who are in junk removal, different things. Why should anybody want to get off the trucks and hire people to where their margins are even going to be lower?
That's how you build your business. I mean, I did it early on because I had the kids in sports and I didn't want to miss my kids' sporting events or school events for a business, because, the only way to do that is to get employees to get your time back, and that's what I did. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have done it a lot sooner because early on, I didn't feel like I could afford any employees if I took myself out because I was producing X. And I felt like if I took myself out of the field, then I'd lose that income instead of, expanding it.
For me, I always tell the story of like how I broke my ankle, but I guess the way that I look at it right now is if I were to hire somebody to do a certain position, what would I be willing to pay that person for?
Right.
And if I'm going to do that position instead, I'm telling myself that that's exactly what I'm worth. Where if I could go find a higher paying skill, where like I guess the learning process of me when I was laying in bed with a broken ankle was I didn't know what to do with myself, so all I did was focus on generating leads. Like that was what my whole entire day consisted of.
Right.
It wasn't doing the work, and that's when I actually scaled my business, is when I focused on sales. And I feel like a lot of people, they say that you should be focusing 80% of your time on like leads and sales rather than doing what doesn't necessarily matter, and doing the actual work isn't going to move the needle whatsoever unless you change something.
Right. And we didn't really start scaling as a business so my brother's 6 years younger than me. So he was still in high school and finishing up that when I started the business. Well, then once he got out, he's like, "Can I come work for you?" I was like, "Absolutely." And so once I got him on board, somebody I could trust, that's when we really started expanding and growing.
And what kind of side of the business did you take? And I guess what kind of role did he take?
So early on, I was kind of the management where he was in a truck, but he'd be running multiple crews and he'd be in a truck as well. And so as we kept growing, then I pulled him and this was another growing pain, was when he came to me and said, "Hey, I need to be out of the field."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "No way, I can't afford that." Going back to my mindset. And I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, this is the only way to expand is if I get out of the field, I can start running bids, doing this, running crews." And so I took the jump, and at the time I thought I was nuts. I was like, "No, there's no way, but we'll try it. We'll try it for 6 months and see how it goes." And it worked out great.
He's like, I don't want to go back in the field. I'm going to work.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And we all get to that point where we're just like, I want to do something different. And he's like, we're not going to grow if I'm in the field cutting grass every day. I was like, "Yeah, but you need to. You need to get this revenue because I can't afford to pay you unless you're producing revenue." And so that was a big hurdle to get over, but it's well worth it now.
So at the time you have all these, I mean, even right now, back then, you have all these trucks out on the road. You have all these employees. You have all these yards to cut, a few hundred yards. I don't like, how is that? How do you guys structure that to where all these guys know exactly where they're going? I assume you have a CRM that's specifically for lawn care, probably.
Yep.
So is that how it is, or?
So back in the day, it was we had paper routes. So every morning, Brett would come in, my brother would come in, print up all these schedules, and we'd have to manually route them. Back, this is probably before your time when you had the map books. So we give each crew a map book, and we'd say, "Here's your list," and they'd have to go to the yard, cut it, and then they have to go through the map book and figure out how to get to the next yard. It was awful early on. Now we just plug it all in a CRM. They get the schedule on their phone, and it takes them right to their job. every time.
Okay.
And then they hit start when they get to the job, and when they're
So you
done,
can time all the jobs as
yeah,
well.
yeah. And then when they're done, they hit stop, and it automatically charges the credit card on file for the customer.
That's awesome. Do you guys only accept cards?
New customers is card only.
Okay.
Yeah, just because
And
I don't want to chase money anymore.
yeah, so I guess that's something I want to get into because back in the day, I'm sure people were only paying with cash, I assume, cash or check.
Cash or check.
So you got all these employees out in the field, and were they the ones collecting the cash or checks?
No, so back in the day when we started, you sign up as a customer, we'd cut you for 4 weeks. Say there's 4 weeks in a month, we cut you for 4 weeks, and then we send the bill out, and then we give you 30 days to pay. Well, that was awful way to do business, but you didn't know any better, and that's how we've done it for years. And so you have to have so much in your account to cover payroll for,
Of course.
basically 2 months. So it was a huge cash, stress on the cash flow. But now the things we've learned through the time, we charge everybody upon completion. So it helps with cash flow. We got money to pay for equipment, pay for payroll, just pay all our business expenses.
So if you cut my yard today, you're going to bill me today.
We cut your yard today. First thing in the morning, we charge a card.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, see, that's crazy. You can never learn those things without a mentor or without experience.
Right.
So so I guess you're in lawn care, you start doing aeration and stuff like that. Was there any other services that you were doing?
We dabbled in fertilization back in the day, and I guess I was so nervous because we had to be certified. You had to have a license. Well, I didn't have anybody at the time. We were a revolving door for employees, so I was like, nobody's going to get. I can hardly find employees. Nobody's going to get their license. So, anyways, I bit the bullet. I got my certification, and now all our techs work under my license. Once you get the license, it's just a recertification every 3 years. It's basically just send your money to the state and you get recertified. So, but yeah, our fertilizer game's on point now, and everything's going pretty good.
And then the aerations themselves, you guys are doing, like, how many aerations are you guys doing right now per day, would you say?
We'll probably do 4,000 aerations this fall, which
That's
is
insane.
80 to 100 a day.
And how did, like, I just don't, I can't even wrap my head around somebody doing 80 to 100 jobs a day, So how are you even managing getting those leads? Because I'm sure a lot of lawn care companies struggle with getting the leads to be able to do that volume. What would you say, is the reason why you're doing 80 to 100 a day?
So we do a lot of forms of advertising. We do direct mail, bandit signs, email blasts, Facebook ads. So we blanket the aeration market in the fall just to get that business. And we built up a nice customer base as well. Like the other day, I think we have 7,500 emails in our database, and we email blasted all those 7,500, and we booked up quite a bit of aerations off that.
Yeah, see, a lot of people, they don't utilize automation in their business to where, like, you could have everything automated to where maybe you don't even send out those emails. Maybe it's every, at this day, I'm going to send out this email every single year, and it just keeps on coming out where you don't need to do anything, and the phones start going off the hook.
Yep.
We would do that with junk removal. Is like we would have all this automation in place. And what I've learned with, like, people started emailing me saying, hey, are you guys doing email? Are you guys doing SMS? To where I learned that you should be able to get $1 to $5 per month just utilizing automation for repurposing, basically for marketing.
Right.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot better than that.
Yeah, I mean it's great, and it took us a while to learn these systems. I remember back in the day, I had my sister-in-law taking aeration calls, and then she'd put down all the addresses on a piece of paper, and then she'd have to go to MapQuest. I don't know if you remember MapQuest. You're a young buck, but
I've heard of it.
yeah, she had to go to MapQuest and plug in all the addresses and then route them that way. Well, now we have a system, our CRM. You just hit one button, and it populates all the addresses, and then puts them in a route.
It
The
puts
best
it in
route.
the best route.
The best route.
And
Yeah.
what's the best route? Just the closest together?
Yeah, so depending on where the addresses are. So we may have 2 jobs in St. Peter's, 2 in O'Fallon, 2 in Wildwood, 1 in Baldwin. So back in the day, I mean, before we had the MapQuest or whatever, I mean, we'd do one in St. Peter's, and then he'd drive to Chesterfield, and then he'd drive to O'Fallon, and then he'd drive back to Wildwood, and it made no sense. So now, like you said, with automations, with optimization of the routes, I mean, it's a huge time saver.
And just like the CRM itself, imagine if that wasn't in place, how much difficult your job would be, and you probably wouldn't do in the revenue that you're doing right now.
Not even close. I mean, we'd be half our size right now.
So you guys, what's your service area from your office? How far do you go?
We're probably 30 miles out, 30
Okay.
mile radius.
So like 40 minutes away,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah, which is probably a little bigger than we'd like, but you go where the money's at.
So if you're cutting grass or doing aerations that are 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away, and it's a $50 lawn and you're paying 2 employees, $20 an hour. So it sounds like it's not very profitable. I guess, at the beginning, are these companies just biting the bullet because they don't have a lot of jobs in that specific area until you get a lot, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, right now, early on, you take what you get, and if somebody calls from 30 minutes away, yeah, you're not going to turn down the work. But the idea is to densify the route, get route density. So if you get 1 yard, 30 miles out of your radius, well, the first year may suck, but then the next year you may have half the subdivision, which will be good, because a $50 yard driving an hour away doesn't make any sense. But if you have 30 yards in that same neighborhood, then it makes sense.
So are these mainly residential homes, or are you guys doing a lot of commercial as well?
Right now we're about 50-50. We run, I think 9 of our 12 mow crews are residential.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what would you say is there one that you like more than the other?
I think residential is a little easier to scale. Commercial is just cutthroat. The margins aren't great for commercial, but everybody seems to want to go there when they first start the business.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot more competition on that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those companies are probably always looking for the next cheaper person to save money because they don't want to do it anyways.
Yeah. I mean, commercial places, they get 3 bids every year, and they typically pick the lowest price person. And we're not the lowest price, and we don't want to be. We don't want to compete in that market.
Mm-hmm.
So residential, they value their time, they value their investment, and they're willing to pay for quality. So if you show up, you answer the phone, you show up and do what you're supposed to do, you can charge a premium for it.
Right. And how are you finding these commercial jobs? Are you just cold calling, walking in the door, relationships?
It's mostly just advertisement. So we have sales guys. Me and my brother sell jobs, but we don't go out and looking for jobs. So I'm not going to go to a customer and be like, "Hey, do you need your grass cut?" If they call us, yeah, we're going to bid it. So a lot of times they call off our trucks, they call off our signs, they call off our advertisement, and that's how we get in the door.
So I remember, I met your brother. We went out to eat a couple months ago, and I can't remember what he exactly said, but he said a gem, which I guess I'll let you finish what he was saying, and I'm sure you'll get the point here. But and so say you're cutting somebody's grass, and a neighbor comes out and says, "Hey, can you guys cut my yard?" How does that exactly work because your employees are going to be talking to that person? How do they go about that to make sure you earn that customer as a client?
So a lot of our employees are Hispanic and they don't speak English. So we have thank you cards or business cards with a QR code on there. So if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can you cut my grass?" If they don't understand it, they'll either call my brother who's bilingual and then he'll talk the customer through it. Or we're starting to put QR codes on our trucks along with our number and business cards. So if they say, "Hey, can you cut my grass?" They'll hand them a business card.
Point at the barcode.
Point at the barcode, the QR code, they'll scan it, and then it takes them right to our CRM system, and then they can request an estimate for whatever service they want.
And they just pop up, and then when to show up, where to show up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And does that happen a lot?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How many bids would you say you're giving a day or a week?
We'll try and do 3 each a day.
Okay.
So what's that? 30, about 30 bids a week.
And you have like an office manager that's taking, I guess, calls and that sort of thing?
So we have an office manager in-house that does emails, calls, customer interaction when they come into the office. And then we have a call center that also takes the calls, especially during aeration season when we're so busy.
And I've never used a call center. I guess you're paying, is it a retainer plus performance or?
Just hourly, straight hourly.
Okay. And is that like overseas?
No, they're all Americans, which is a lot more expensive than overseas. I know overseas, some call centers are like $3 an hour, which is crazy, but we're a lot more than that.
And do you recommend that like somebody actually uses a call center if you're busy enough?
I would. We've definitely increased our business from it. The reason we picked the American or U.S. call center opposed to like India or whatever is one, they can relate with the customers and they're trained in our CRM. So that was the biggest part of it. And that's how we found them, is because they are highly trained in our CRM, which is somewhat difficult to use when you're first getting started. So with them knowing the system, the ins and outs of it, yeah, it's definitely,
you don't want them to jack it up either.
No. So it's definitely worth it.
What CRM are you using?
Service Autopilot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of that one. I thought you were going to say like a HubSpot or...
No, it's specifically designed for lawn and landscape companies.
It's got to be a high valuation company.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
So I guess, so you're doing aeration, but is that just plugging the hole or pulling, I don't know how to describe it, but
pulling.
And are you fertilizing those properties as well?
Yeah. So aeration is pulling the cores out of the ground to allow the lawn to breathe. And then the fall is the best time to do it because then you can add the seed and the fertilizer to get down in those holes.
So if I'm trying to get the greenest yard in the neighborhood, what would you recommend for me to get the greenest yard in the neighborhood?
Water it, Kyle.
Water. Yeah, water. Sell me. Yeah, I dropped the ball this year on my yard. I started watering it when you came by, right, and gave me that quote, and then I just quit caring, and now it's all burnt up.
That's right. So now you got to reseed it. Now you got calls for aeration and seed.
And my neighbor, it doesn't help that he has the nicest yard in the neighborhood with stripes, and so I guess my neighbor has sod, and I guess they just seeded it whenever they planted it. Is sod better than the other one, or
not really? I mean, sod's just a quick fix. Okay. It's more expensive, but after a weekend you'll have a fresh new lawn. Where aeration and seed takes 10 to 14 days before you start seeing grass grow.
And that you'll even see it in the fall.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We'll have to get something on the books.
There you go. Just hire us, Kyle.
I will.
You're too busy.
I'm not going to be doing it. Yeah. I don't have the equipment to do it anyways.
Right.
So I guess like an aeration lawn, there's specific equipment for that. So an aeration, I guess, mower or whatever, it only does aeration, or does it do other things as well?
Right. So no, it's an aerator, and that's all it does is aerate.
Okay.
So they're starting to make fertilizer spreaders that do aeration as well, but they're not as good as just this, just an aerator.
So you aerate the lawn, and then you use one of those things to just throw the seed around.
Yep. Just a spreader.
I heard that seed's pretty expensive.
Oh God, it's outrageous. Just like everything else, though. Everything else right now is crazy high too.
Do you buy it on like pallets to save money, or?
Oh, we'll buy truckloads of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go through 19 pallets.
And do they charge per pound, or?
We charge per pound. So they charge per bag. It's like $100 a bag right now.
Okay.
10 years ago, we were buying it for $35 a bag.
And it's probably harder for the smaller company to, they're going to have to charge more money than probably you, because you're probably getting a bigger discount than them.
We are. I mean, we get a little bit of discount, but nothing crazy.
Okay.
But we do a lot of them. So, I mean, we can scale it that way, just by doing a lot more neighbors. And
so I had Chase Gallagher on here, which I know you know who he is. He was doing lawn care and got out of lawn care because he was tired of cutting $50 lawns, over and over, and it's hard to scale. And he got into landscape construction, where the average ticket might be $10,000. Do you plan on doing that in the near future, or why aren't you in that side of the business?
I don't. I tend to like the lawn care side of it, is just because you have the recurring business.
It's not necessarily skilled either.
No, and I mean you get 1,200 customers. More than likely, you're going to have 1,100 to 1,200 customers next year, where you don't have to keep chasing a landscape job. Landscape jobs, 9 out of 10 times, it's a one and done. Plus you need a lot more skilled labor. Takes a lot more management. Takes a designer to design it. It's just too much hand holding. I like to set it and forget it. Like literally when somebody calls for lawn care, we'll set them up, put their credit card on file, and we won't hear from them again. And it's just like a charter bill. You sign up for cable. Mm-hmm. Well,
never call them.
You're going to have cable for the rest of your life until you call and cancel it. Same with lawn care. And unless they move, we got great guys right now. Unless they move or die, we're not losing customers.
Okay.
Customers stay with us. I mean, I've had some customers that still call me Bobby from when I was 11 years old. Mm-hmm. There's only like 6 people in the world left that call me Bobby. and they're original customers from, I mean, I'm 44 now, so 33 years ago.
It's probably so cool for them to see how far you've came as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to see.
Do you have any customers that are in the past, we'll say, that have just called you like crazy, like, when are you guys coming out? You know, that are just pain in the butt, I guess?
No, not really. Most of our customers are good. And like I said, you know, as long as we're doing our job, showing up every week to cut the grass, we typically don't hear from our customers.
That's good. So, you know, with junk removal, every single month you start off at zero. So if you do 20,000 this month or 100,000 this month, you got to start off at zero. So it's a constant chase and chase and chase. Where I do like that recurring type of model. You know, it's just, I guess it's a little less. But I guess where are your plans from here in terms of scaling this business?
Just keep growing locally. Eventually, I may look at like a Branson or a Lake location.
So you can move out there?
Yeah, yeah. Just for personal reasons.
And you have a property at the Ozarks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're buying real estate right now?
Yeah. So that's my second business is real estate. We have a bunch of rental properties and vacation rentals and stuff like that. So
okay.
I want to scale that as well.
And what do you like better, the, I guess, long-term rentals or short-term?
Right now with the interest rates and everything, I like short-term better. Cash flow is a lot better on those.
So a property at the lake, you know, you're really probably only going to make your money in the summer, right? Or are people, you know, still renting in the winter?
So at the lake, it's strictly summer. You basically got 4 months to make your nut, and then we have one in Branson too, which is about a 10-month period.
So I've been going to Table Rock a lot recently. We know we have some family members that have a house there, and I honestly, I would move there today if my girlfriend would actually let us.
Yeah.
But I just love Table Rock. It's, you know, the drive isn't terrible, but I just like the lake itself. You go out there and it's pretty calm. You know, you can go out there whenever you want instead of the lake. We went out the Ozarks. We went out with a pontoon that was 15 foot. We shouldn't have been out there, and I felt like I was going to drown.
Yeah. I mean, Table Rock's a lot cleaner than the Lake of the Ozarks. I think it's bigger. It's not as developed. So I don't even know if they allow houses on the lake at Table Rock.
Yeah, they have. Well, I guess
like up to the lake.
Yeah,
you know, they have them off the lake and then they have a dock. But Lake of the Ozarks, I mean, the whole lake is lined with houses and
right.
You know, so
40-foot boats.
Yeah, Table Rock.
60-foot boats.
Yeah, Table Rock can get a little rough, but I just like it a lot better too, just because it's a lot cleaner.
So the property at the Ozarks, are you basically breaking even on that property since it only rents, you know, for a couple months, or?
Yeah, so we rent it out. Basically, they start renting in May, and then they stop and in mid-September. So basically 4 months out of the year, but that covers all my bills. So I'm still getting the appreciation. I'm getting the depreciation or the tax savings on it. So it's a win-win. And plus we have 2 places to go that we enjoy visiting.
So every single year, you know, I'm sure you make really, you know, you can show good money on paper, and then you're trying to buy something to reduce that tax bill. I guess is real estate that thing for you?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It is. And real estate's more generational wealth as well, you know, so to where I can leave my kids something.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I wish my family had a couple properties for me now.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wish I would start buying a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just started scaling the real estate side about 4 years ago. So I wish I would start buying when the interest rates. I wish I would have bought a lot more when the interest rates were 3%.
3%
instead of 8% right now.
Yeah. And are you using private money or hard money?
A little bit of both. So
Okay.
we started with hard money, and then a buddy of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I would like to invest in what you're doing." So then we started borrowing from him.
Okay. And that was just like a family friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've only used private money just because it's much easier to get, in my opinion, than the hard money, but it can be more expensive from what I hear.
For us, the hard money was a lot more expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, so we started off with hard money just because it was available, and then my buddy came to me, and then we are borrowing some money from small local banks as well, at a lot less rate than the hard money.
Well, I'm sure you
Also.
can use those properties as collateral now, so it's probably a lot easier, right?
Yeah, that, and we use Archway too to, you know, for collateral for our real estate business as well. So it's good to have relationships with small town banks.
So I
For sure.
just thought of something. I'm going to go completely south here. you obviously have your real estate, but you have your own office that has a good amount of, property to it, and you just built some giant warehouse. Like what's the plan there? You guys filling up a lot more equipment in there, or just kind of outgrew where you were at?
Yeah, we kind of outgrew where we're at. We have equipment everywhere, so it just gives us more room. We were storing our seed and fertilizer outside. It was a pain in the butt. We had to tarp it every night.
Yeah, that
Every time it
sucks.
rains, I'd jump on my cameras and make sure that the fertilizer's tarped because, I mean, at any given time, we'll have 20 grand worth of fertilizer sitting out there. And if it gets wet, it's shot. So, yeah, we just built a 3,500 square foot, basically pole barn, and we're storing all our seed and fertilizer in there now. So I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Is there a drain in the middle?
No,
I
no.
saw somebody on your TikTok
Oh
comments.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the plumbing? No,
Yeah.
we got electric in a pole barn. We don't need plumbing. We don't need anything.
There's gonna be no water coming in there
No.
anyways, hopefully.
Yeah, we don't need water in there. I mean, we have another shop literally 40 feet away from that shop, so we got a bathroom and water in the other shop, so we don't need it in this one.
That's cool. And it seems like you have like a really good culture of employees, or just people on your team in general. Have a lot of them been there for a long time? And I guess lawn care, I would say, is more seasonal. So what are your team members doing during the winter? Are they still working for you? Do you have to cut everyone? Are you guys doing snow removal?
Yeah, so we do leaf removal. We'll do small landscape jobs in the wintertime and then snow removal if it snows in St. Louis.
Okay. And you guys have like separate trucks for that? I assume you're not putting plows
Yeah,
on
we
the
don't.
box trucks?
No, we don't. Even though I think they can put plows on box trucks, we haven't done it yet,
Okay.
and we probably won't put them on the box trucks. Yeah, we do have separate trucks. I think we have like 8 or 9 of them that we put snow plows and salters on and pray for
Is
snow.
that part of the 23 trucks, the 8 or 9
Yeah,
pickups?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I think we have 13 box trucks, 13 or 14 box trucks, and the rest are regular pickup trucks.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
So I'm sure, like, you obviously scaled to what are you guys doing in revenue right now, if you don't mind me asking?
This year we'll do like 4.2.
4.2. That's amazing.
Yep.
Give you a lot of props. That's hard stuff.
It
takes
is.
a lot of time too.
It was a grind, but
Yeah.
with automations, the new softwares, technology, and great employees, I mean, that's how we built it.
So with social media out there, you've seen me, you've seen so many other people, and you know that a lot of people are starting landscaping companies out there. I guess I wanted to go a different route with this, but I want to ask you a question before I forget. I should have had a list. Saturation. A lot of people talk about junk removal being an overly saturated market, but lawn care itself, like that's the first business that anybody's going to think about, whether they're young, old. What are your thoughts? Is the market saturated? And, I guess what are your thoughts about that for anyone who's going to get into the business?
I think it's saturated. I mean, there's a ton of lawn care guys out there, but everybody's got a lawn. Everybody has grass, and like we talked about, everybody's getting lazier, busier, and people just don't want to do it. I mean, we have some customers that have allergies and they can't do it, medical issues that can't do it, handicapped that can't do it, elderly that can't do it, and then just the busy folks, the kids with the people with kids that don't have time to do it. So everybody needs their grass cut. Everybody has grass. Everybody has a lawn in St. Louis area, so there's enough to go around.
So if you're driving through a neighborhood and you see a lawn that's 2 feet tall, are you going to go knock on the door and be like, "Hey, you need your grass cut"?
No, we're past that stage.
Okay, yeah, they're probably not great customers,
Right,
anyways.
we're past that stage, and
Okay.
if they let it get that tall, then they're obviously not paying their bills.
So, in my neighborhood, you would see lawns that were 2 feet tall, and I don't know if people live there or what, but I assume that there was some sort of government contract or city contract. Do you guys have any of those?
We don't.
Okay.
No, I think the city pays for nuisance grass. Are you talking about
Just like I don't know what
like
nuisance-
like vacant grass that people just
I don't
moved
think
out
it's.
or?
I don't even think it's vacant. Some of these properties, I think it's just people who maybe don't cut it.
So I want to say years ago the city would charge these people like $175, and then they'd hire companies like us to go cut
Right.
these lawns. But it'd just be one and done. And if you're cutting something 3 feet tall, even at $175, I mean a belt for our mowers is like 125. So
Right.
you're cutting 3 feet tall, you're going to break a belt, you're going to break some blades. It just doesn't make sense. You're going to wear out the engine. So we don't mess with those really.
Do you have any plans of like really trying to blow up on social media, filming, that sort of thing? I see you guys posting on TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, we'd like to get into that a little bit. Maybe
Okay.
some shop visits and help smaller companies build and grow.
Yeah, so that was my next question is, again, you see a lot of people that you probably look up to, whether it's in real estate or whatever else, they've provided value with their knowledge. Do you plan on, I guess, offering something to the market where somebody in Houston, Texas is trying to scale their, lawn care business to 4 million a year? Do you have something that, you guys are trying to offer at that moment?
We're starting to put together something. We would, like I said, we would like to start coaching. Everybody needs a coach. I know you preach coaching. It's huge. That's the only way to scale. Learn the lessons from them that on their failures, so you don't have to go through the failures. So we'd like to start coaching and help other people grow their business as well.
So they'll actually get to come out to your office and, check out all the equipment, the operation that you guys have.
Yep.
Okay.
They can see our systems, see our office, how everything's set up. They can see our shop. They can see our trucks, see how everything's run out of our trucks, and just see how everything flows on a day-to-day basis.
Do you have an idea on when that's going to be launched?
Hopefully this fall.
Okay. That's awesome. Maybe I'll have to stop by.
Yeah, for sure.
Learn the aeration game.
Definitely.
So, but where can everybody find you? Maybe to get in touch with you about scaling their lawn care business, aeration, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So right now we're on TikTok. It's Aeration Nation.
Such a great name.
Yeah, Aeration Nation. It's got a nice ring to it. And then we're on just our website, archwayLawnCare.com, and Archway Lawn Care on Facebook.
Cool, man. Well, great story, and I really appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome, man. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.